It is back, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday night's main event returning in December on the 14th on NBC. It's going to be taking place at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York. I'm not going to lie, I've got a bit of the nostalgic feels. I can't wait to talk about all things Saturday night's main event, as well as that, going to be answering all your questions in the wrestling community, including other topics, including WWE Bad Blood 2024, a new match being booked at the time of recording. We've got CODY Rhodes and Roman Reigns going against the Bloodline members, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. We're going to find out who will be taking on Nia Jax. Will it be Bayley or Naomi? There's plenty to dive into. We'll even be touching our thoughts on the brand new SmackDown logo as well. But welcome to the show, NXT. Thanks for joining us as always. And first off, Saturday night's main event is back. What are your thoughts on the return of this classic show?
I mean, dude, I think Elton John famously said Saturday nights are right for fighting. So, bring it back. It's just one of them things, man. It's good that we finally got something in December again, something to look forward to. So yeah, they're just buzzing for it. I mean, even just the presentation, the old retro late 80s, early 90s Saturday night logo, the neon light style thing. It's very nostalgic, man. Like I said, it's just something to look forward to for December now.
Absolutely, I'm really excited for it as well, and obviously we'll do a little bit of predicting as well for early doors. Way too early predictions we'll give for this as well, but yeah, I mean, like you said there, it's nostalgic feels. I mean, obviously this goes all the way back to 1985, so yeah, showing your age if you've seen the first one. There's been 36 of them in total. This will be the 37th show, of course. It was very popular, obviously. It was when basically it's been on NBC, and obviously you have Saturday Night Live in the States, and when that wasn't on, WWE would have Saturday night's main event that should take its place on the weeks it didn't do it. And that's when we had kind of 30 of them between 1985 to 1992. Then it make a big return in 2006. So a lot of the Naughties fans will remember this show as well. Of course, main evented the first one back in 2006 with Shawn Michaels and Shane McMahon in a street fight, which Shawn Michaels actually lost that match as well by submission. The last one, of course, taking place in August 2008, which, of course, Edge defeated in the main event of that show. And do you have any familiar memories with Saturday night's main event for back in the day?
Not really. I mean, when I kind of started getting into WWE, and obviously for the struggles that we had as kids trying to watch it, it was kind of like very seldomly managed to catch Raw and pay-per-views, anything else otherwise. Like, obviously I knew of it, and you can go back on the network easily, and they always throw something on there from Saturday night's main event. So yeah, it's kind of like I knew of it, but unfortunately never used to really have a specific memory or a highlight. Well, maybe it's something we can do for a retro one day.
Potentially December could be the hot spot, so keep an eye out for that one to our community if you want to see a retro of Saturday night's main event. My personal one, the first one I ever watched was the last one in 1992. Shawn Michaels winning the Intercontinental Championship from the British Bulldog. Bret Hart was the champion as well, defeating Papa Shango in the main event. So some real nostalgic feels with that one, but obviously most of the other ones I would have seen would have been in the noughties, just like a lot of the Ruthless Aggression fans around that time period. Now, before we go into some questions from other people, give a shout out to Bobby, who's in the house. Bobby, thank you for joining us. Also, CD and House C Nation Dog on YouTube, thank you for joining us. And very happy to see that we're getting more Q&As. Looking forward now in the winter season, hopefully bring this back on a weekly basis. But there is a bit of a speculation station. This is why I come to a bit of early predictions for this, because the poster I found quite intriguing. I want to bring that poster back up for you now, because you look at the superstars that we have. We have CODY Rhodes, obviously smash bang in the middle. Roman Reigns potentially could be on this show. Looks to be highlighted there. We've got Bianca Belair, of course, Liv Morgan. But on the bottom right is one Seth freaking Rollins. Now, obviously, we've not seen Seth for a good couple of months. And, of course, he's expected to take some time off after those latest injuries he's suffered. Of course, Bronson Reed was the one that puts him out on the shelf. Of course, with those, well, I think it was about 7 or 8 avalanches, tsunamis, I should say, coming off the top rope, putting Seth on the shelf. So seeing Seth on this poster leads me to the question, will Seth Rollins return in time for Saturday night's main event? And if so, can we say it's the same prediction that one match on this show will be him versus Bronson Reed?
I mean, dude, it's always card subject to change. And with the posters, it's kind of like sometimes it's a spoiler, sometimes it's not a spoiler. Sometimes it's a case of he's just one of the biggest stars and like his face just happens to be on the blaster. Like, don't get me wrong, it might be a case of they change that poster entirely in a month's time and he's completely removed from it altogether. So who knows? But yeah, if that's what they want to do, I've got no qualms against that. It's going to be a good build for it. They're obviously still going to delay this CM Punk Seth Rollins story, which is, do you know what I mean? Obviously, same for WrestleMania, which is the wisest idea. So yeah, like obviously Steph's going to have something to do between now and then. I'm pretty sure CM Punk is still going to be fighting with Drew McIntyre at that point as well.
Interesting. You think it goes beyond Hell in a Cell?
I mean, I've got a reason why not to at the minute, because every time we think it's over, it carries on going. So who knows at this point?
Very true. And to be honest, when you look at the idea of Saturday night's main event and you see that post, obviously, I can't see Cody versus Roman taking place on this card, even though both are on the post. And obviously, both I expect to be involved with War Games at this moment. It feels very much the narrative after what we've seen this past week on SmackDown. Roman saving Cody Rhodes from a beatdown for the Bloodline after Cody won the steel cage match. Jacob Fatu was on top of that cage as well, about to do, I guess, a moonsault when Roman made the save. It looked like we are going to get Roman and Fatu with a stare down as well before Fatu was pulled out of that cage. It'd be interesting to see what happens, because I think it will lead to War Games, those two. And I said before, I think Randy Orton and Kevin Owens rounds off the line against the new Bloodline. However, if they win that match, do we see them then go off and face each other? That would be a massive main event for Saturday night's main event. However, being on NBC or on pay-per-view, a premium live event, would it make more sense to do a match like that there? Or will they team up again against the Bloodline on this show, potentially? I guess it's like you say, it's a far away, but let's speculate and have a bit of fun with it.
I mean, dude, I'm literally at this point, I'm Googling New York wrestlers, and I'm like, who could make a little cameo surprise for New York, eh? And, you know, obviously I'm seeing like the Dudley Boys are from New York, and I'm like, okay, there's an easy name to throw in there. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, I'd like to say, I think it's just going to be a special little show. Like, I don't necessarily think it's going to be like, it's not going to be, it's just going to be what it is. It's just going to be a little pay-per-view in December, really, something for, do you know what I mean, an early surprise before Christmas. Do you know what I mean? So it's just going to be fun, especially with the fact that WWE has started to cut back on all their house shows as well, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because it's kind of like they're stopping the house shows because I saw this in a video. Someone said Vince McMahon spent all those years with all those house shows building the company to where it is, and that they no longer need to do the house shows. And I understand it, and it's also going to make it feel a bit more special when it does come to your town. But like, there's so many towns and places that I feel we're going to lose out. But then on the plus side, it's good for the wrestlers because they don't have to wrestle as many nights of the week. So there's pros and cons to everything, man. But like I said, the fact that we're getting something in December alone is just a plus anyway. And yeah, it's whatever they've decided to do, I'm sure it's going to be fun. I believe that it's probably going to be a network special. Well, it might be a pay-per-view. It depends. I imagine you're going to be able to watch it on network either way. So, depending on where you are in the world. So, I don't very much doubt it would be a free-to-air. But obviously, with being Saturday night, it's going to go up against AEW anyway. So, you know, it's always just a kicker in the teeth for them as well.
Or being on NBC, I think in the States is a clear victory for WWE. I can't see Collision causing too much trouble. But like you say, internationally, it'll be interesting to see how we get to see it. But fingers crossed, we will get a platform. Maybe, like you said, with the network, for example, Peacock.
It was like, what was the one last year that Punk, the Madison Square Garden that Punk wrestled in? Like, I didn't know, like, it was his first match back from when he re-signed. He had a couple of matches at Madison Square Garden, and obviously it was kind of like you had to be there to see it kind of things. And it's like there's people at home that would quite happily pay to watch those house shows at Madison Square Garden.
Very true indeed. Very true. Perhaps giving WWE some ideas there for early tours into our video today. But let's go into some comments anyway. And C Nation Dog can't wait to see Seth freaking Rollins versus Bronson Reed. Obviously, Liv Morgan is on the poster. Bobby suggested maybe someone like Lyra Valkyria or Zelina Vega could be someone that could be good opponents. I think obviously, depending on if it's a 1 or 2 hour show as well, and you have, say, 4 or 5 matches on the card, I think it would make sense to have a match something like this. I mean, obviously, if you did Liv versus Rhea again, for example, you'd expect it to be a longer match, so you need to have some good timed matches on the show to get everything on, which is why I think it also goes against a Cody Roman match on that sort of show. It'd be more like they would team, or perhaps maybe Cody wrestles, Roman talks. Could be all different ways that you go about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, mainly, this is going to be a case if you're going to get Zelina on there for being from New York, you're probably going to get Priest on there. You're probably going to get the Dudley Boys on there at some point. You see, they're just going to stack this with a couple of New York talents. Karrion Kross is probably going to be on there just to take an L at some point because, someone from New York has to take a loss on this show. So whether there's some dark matches, whether it's presented like a Raw maybe or a SmackDown, who knows? But I mean, if they're going to go with a pay-per-view feel, 5-6 matches should be good. Maybe you get a Liv versus Zelina. Trying to think, Priest, obviously, maybe going up against Gunther. Maybe a bit early for that one. I don't know. Maybe there's a rematch clause in there somewhere. Who knows? But I mean, they're going to stack this show with people from New York.
Can't wait to see it. I want to say, can you tell we're excited about it? We've already spoke for 10 minutes in this video about this one. To be fair, we could be barely scratching the surface with this one. But Saturday night's main event is making its return. But we're going to turn our attention now to the comments and get your questions, your thoughts in. And obviously, we have a few topics of our own as well to fill out the perhaps next 50 minutes of your time. But make sure to hit that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here. And if you're watching on delay, thank you. We really appreciate it. C Nation goes on to say that if Nick Nemeth was to turn heel against Joe Hendry, then Joe Hendry would have turned Rich Swann, Josh Alexander, and Nemeth all to the dark side. Well, 2 out of 3 ain't bad so far. We'll have to wait and see if Nemeth would be another one in the future. Here, C Nation now. Says he can actually see Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes winning the WWE Tag Team Championships this Friday or next Friday on SmackDown. Not a bad shout, really, when you think about it, because obviously we did speak about this last week, actually, the idea that Roman and Cody could end up being Tag Team Champions. It feels like a legitimate team that could put the Bloodline away at this moment, where it feels that the rest of the division probably wouldn't put the Bloodline away at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I can see them winning it. Will they? Maybe not, because I think there's a bigger story to tell if they don't win the tag team titles. But it's just an interesting dynamic. We've had it so many times before, like we said, with like Triple H and Austin, and I can't even say apart from Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan. I don't even know. Do you know what I mean? There's so many random tag teams that have like world champions that have been tag team champions at the same time. So it's just going to be a fun, interesting dynamic how they portray it and what they do with it, and who ends up being in the tag team match, whether it's Tama Tonga and Tangaloa or Jacob Black's in it, or who knows, man.
I have to wait and see. Obviously, at the moment, it feels like it would be Tongaloa and Tama Tonga that would be the way. And this is what CD's going to say, by the way. He reckons if this happens and Roman and Cody win it, then it could be for the Tag Team Championships of Bad Blood against Sikoa and Fatu, which, to be fair, could make a lot of sense if they were to do it in that way.
Yeah, no, I just said Jacob Black for some reason. I don't know why I said that. I said it, and my brain was confused. Like, who's Jacob Black? That's not actually a bad shout. It's a very good possibility. I mean, like they're kind of not using the tag team titles as a definitive championship at the minute. It's more of a story fueled title at the minute, so it can be chopped and changed and dropped on one a couple of times. It's not really going to do much damage to.
No, absolutely not. And the thing is, when the time is right as well, they can always just give it back to the Bloodline. Cody could take the L for the team when the time is right, because you can build that story to get them where they need to. And as CD goes on to say, the beatdown was done to Tonga and Tongaloa last week on SmackDown from Cody and Roman. Obviously, the two members of the Bloodline were left high and dry from Solo and Jacob Fatu as well.
Let's not forget, though, that also, Nathan Frazier and Axiom owe the Bloodline a good ass whooping as well, after NXT last week. So that's going to be interesting, whether it's going to be imagine a title versus title match, and Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus the Bloodline for the obviously both tag team titles on the line. We really don't want that again, but still, do you know what I mean? It could possibly happen.
It's only because I think Frazier and Axiom would lose, otherwise I'd be all for it. But
man, you can't do it to them again, man. But yeah, I know what you mean. They probably would lose, but yeah.
You can't see the Bloodline losing to NXT stars, but no, certainly would be fun, and would be up for it. Maybe to one of those shows for an 8-man tag match or something, or 6-man tag.
You say that Nathan Frazier and Axiom losing just for the Motor City Machine Guns, maybe come in and take them back. Who knows?
PW Insider reported those deals the ink is dry. Them coming to WWE, Shelley and Saban coming to NXT. I'm really excited about that news. And a lot of people turn around and say, "Oh, they don't need to go to NXT." Blah 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 blah. But the thing is like it's a way of introducing Motor City Machine Guns to the WWE audience. Not everybody follows Impact Wrestling or TNA now, or have seen what their work has been elsewhere over the years. So it's a good way of getting some exposure. Of course, they get to share their wealth of experience and knowledge to the younger talent as well in the locker room, in the PC. And to be fair, if there's one division that's really crying for an extra tag team right now, is NXT. So it feels like their tag team division's gutted at the minute. So the Motor Machine Guns add some real strength and depth to that tag team division immediately. So I'm really excited to see what they bring to the table when they come to WWE. And I imagine it won't be too long and before they'll be on a Raw or SmackDown afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, if for the last couple of months, it feels like that division's been very, very two teams. It's either been Chase U or Frazier and Axiom throwing the Rascals on the odd occasion, but like Hank and Tank have been the tag team for the longest time. I can't actually remember last time I actually see them do anything. And then obviously, yeah, if you're going to bring in the Motor City Machine Guns, and then also as well, I know they're not going to NXT, but if you're going to bring in Phoenix and Penta as well, I know they're going to the main roster, but there's no reason why they can't make an appearance every once in a while on NXT as well.
Especially if they're traveling on the road, that would be fun to see. Speaking though of NXT, the topic has come up. Bobby's asked if Jordynne Grace does an open challenge for the Knockouts World Championship on CW Network, who should accept that open challenge that haven't already had a match against Jordynne Grace? So I guess it's hypothetical, speculation station, but certainly I'm not against Jordynne Grace going against people on the NXT roster. Who should be next in line to go for Grace?
I mean, if they want to do the Julia match and have a funny finish, I think I'd be okay with that. I think like it's kind of what they're hinting to, it's what they've been doing. But I mean, I'm trying to sit there and think there's no one else on that roster that really does deserve a shot at the minute that hasn't already had one. So it's kind of really hard. I mean, unless you can have like a returning Cora Jade, but even still, I wouldn't put Cora Jade in that position because she doesn't need a loss for a championship on her first match back. I mean, Julia seems like the smartest option. Then you just have Roxanne Perez just do a screwy finish.
I mean, to be fair, it's a very good way to do it if you want to do something like that. To give a different answer, I'd probably go with Fallon Henley just because I think she's got some experience factor behind her. I think she could have a good match as well against Jordynne Grace. It has a semi-believable feel that Henley could win, where I think a lot of the women in NXT locker room probably would feel like you would lose. Or in the case of Julia and Perez, I think it feels like they would win. But
who's the other one in their faction? Who's the other one in their faction? There's like three of them, isn't there? There's like one of the new guys
and Jasmine.
Oh, JC Jane. Yeah, JC Jane's not a bad show, to be fair.
No. I miss Gigi Dolan, though. I think she's still injured, unfortunately, at the time being, so that's why she's not about. CD asked, the Pure Fusion Collective ain't that interesting to me. I know WWE's trying, but I just do not see the vision. It's hard to see the vision when they're eating L's every single week. It's not really it's not really collecting momentum, let's just say.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I've been saying it for ages now. Zoe Starks being in that group is just... I don't want to say career suicide, but it's not the best for her. Like I said, at the start of the year, this girl was fighting for world championships, and now she's found herself in a naff, dodgy named faction that can't even win any tag team matches and can't even get a shot for tag team titles. You know what I mean? So, like I said, anything can change with creative. So hopefully something comes out from them in the near future.
I think I said this last week, and I'll say it again. I think that in a time period where Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are leading that tag team division, where on a different occasion, both of those would go for singles glory, it affects a lot of the other teams in that dynamic because there's only one team that can challenge for those titles at a time. And I think whilst you have Bianca and Jade at the top of the helm, most of the others are going to suffer. When they go on to singles glory, this may be their time to get a push forward, but I do feel that if you keep losing, the damage is going to be done, and it's going to be hard to recover from. But all three, Shayna, Sonya, Zoe, all very talented. Would like to see it work. Would prefer they had a different name. I'd like to see that repackaged nice and quickly because of the fact that we can still forget about it in 6 months if they change it soon. But it is what it is with that one. But yeah, I don't blame you, CD. Let's put it that way. Bobby goes on to say he'd like to see Jordynne Grace versus Stephanie Vaquer or Lash Legend. Sign me up for either. I think both sound like fun matches. Back to the Bloodline losing the tag team titles that CD mentioned earlier, said they can always win them back. Obviously, the idea Jacob Fatu could pin Cody Rhodes just to make Jacob Fatu look more dominant. And the fact is, Cody's more or less said that Jacob Fatu would be a worthy opponent against him in future, probably put him towards the top end of the pecking order. CD says Hank and Tank did get a victory against Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which did shock him. Shocked me at the time as well, but that was about a good few weeks ago, which is a bit of a shame because obviously they've not done so much since. But I do think they are competing this upcoming week on NXT.
I forgot Gallows and Anderson existed, if I'm honest.
It's easily forgotten. And of course, it's just a bad timing thing right now with the Pure Vision Collective, but hopefully it can turn around. In the meantime, NXT, if I want to get your opinion on something, what do you reckon of the brand new SmackDown logos we see it right here, or SmackDown?
I actually like it. Like, I hadn't seen the whole SmackDown thing until today, but like, I know what it's meant to be, so it doesn't really jar me. Like, it's a very clever pattern, very clever play on words. The W could probably do with it being a bit more chunkier for me. Maybe the N as well looks a bit chunky on the ends, but otherwise, I think it's nice. Like, I don't mind it. It's nice to actually do a complete reset of a logo for a show, obviously with the debut on a new network. With like, do you know what? I've actually got. Well, I haven't really got issue with it. I just don't particularly like the new opening music for the show. Like, I'm not a big. I don't know who it is now. I forget who the singer is, but I'm not a fan of theirs. So it's like, bearing in mind we've just come from like, which wasn't like AC/DC or something doing the previous one when SmackDown debuted on Fox. And then we've come to Cardi B or whoever it's supposed to be doing this one as well. Megan Thee Stallion, I think it is, doing this one.
Yes,
I'm just not a fan of the opening show music. But then again, this is like, I've grown up with like Papa Roach and Nickelback and everyone else doing killer openings for Raw. So there you go.
Yeah, Joe, I'm pleased you mentioned about the music because it's something I wasn't actually forgotten about mentioning because obviously it's caused a bit of a stir. I'm personally okay with the music. I don't know. I understand the vibe because I'm from the same era as you. You know what I mean? Like, give me my Limp Biscuits and stuff like that. You know, I enjoyed that sort of style back in the day. But I do obviously feel that with the rap and the influence today as well, it's huge. Yeah. Obviously, with a lot of the mainstream market, WWE is looking to be as mainstream as possible. I do feel that beat is on the intro is. I think it's quite a decent beat, and I do feel to myself that I think with more weeks that pass, I feel it's going to grow on me more. So I feel like I'm going to enjoy this more in a month or two time. But I do understand a lot of people that maybe don't like it as much. But going back to the logo itself, I agree with a lot of your thoughts, by the way, just very quickly. I think that it's very clean. I like the play with the S and the D as well. I know that's a lot of people's gripe with it, but personally for me, I think it's really cool and clever the way they've put it together. And it is, like you say, it's good just to freshen things up. But NXT, I thought you were going to say something to me now.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say about the entrance music, apparently it's also something to do with, apparently Mercedes Moné had something in the plans with Megan Thee Stallion, and that's the reason why WWE apparently have signed her up. So like, they've obviously got the rights and the permission to use the song, and I presume it going the other way, that also means that Megan Thee Stallion can't appear on any other wrestling companies. So.
It's true. It's very true what you said there, because obviously Mercedes Moné had apparently the discussions have gone back as far as February with Megan Thee Stallion of doing something collaborative. There was even talk potentially of her getting involved in wrestling in some formation with AEW with Mercedes Moné. But Mercedes went public on the build to All In. Now, no suggestions with WWE have spoke to Megan Thee Stallion since or before, but rumor mill suggests that could have been what was the trigger for WWE to say, hey, let's do a deal. Let's have that song as part of SmackDown. And and it's all sort of come together. One thing's for sure, she is the theme of SmackDown. So whenever the deal was put together, discussions have taken place between WWE and her, of course, to make it happen. And apparently was shock in the Monet camp. And it'd be interesting to see what happens in the future. Never say never with it, but it does make it extremely difficult, like you've mentioned.
Problem is WWE clearly have a bigger checkbook. That's what the problem is. It's like, we can offer you a check with this many zeros on it. Here you go. Okay, thank you very much. What was that? You wanted me to appear on what show? I'm not allowed to appear on what show? Oh, fine. Can't even remember who you're talking about.
Just remember as well where the audience is watching as well. Say, for example, it was a Collision, for example. It's not going to have the same viewership as what a Raw or SmackDown is having. It's a big refresh. WWE's, I'm a big fan of both. I'm not going to be the person that's going to go out there and just shoot on AEW massively, but it is. There's no argument in it. It's the bigger company, so of course you're going to go with a bigger company. And like you say, those zeros help very nicely as well. CD's got his take on things. He said, I do not like the new SmackDown logo, but I know it will grow on me. I just have a hard time adjusting to change. That's fair. I can be like that as well from time to time, so I don't disagree with that theory. However, he feels that the new SmackDown theme doesn't fit wrestling. I personally disagree with that, but that doesn't mean that, like I said, I think it's a very interesting debate that everyone has with this, because I think a lot of people either love this new theme or they hate it. So it's quite fun to see where people sit on the scale.
I think the thing is as well is there's obviously been so many. There's been so many. Like, don't be wrong. There's old Raw ones and old SmackDown ones that I've hated from time to time. For me, it's just not my genre of music, and that's why I'm not a fan of it. I don't like. I've got no qualms with it. It's fine for what it is. But yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. It doesn't feel like a wrestling tune, because obviously wrestling is more associated with rock, heavy metal, whatever. But then I suppose this is more of Triple H bringing out the NXT Black and Gold days when he used to have like Poppy doing the songs and all that kind of stuff. And I honestly didn't understand what that kind of music was. So, but then again, it's not for me, is it? So it's for a younger demographic. It's supposed to be there to draw in, I believe, younger fans, because it's like, oh look, Megan Thee Stallion does the song for wrestling. Let's check this out and see what it's all about. It's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Exactly, and I think it will achieve its goals. Like you said, we're not the target audience anymore, which is just painful to think about. Who should be next for Femi?
Oh, dude! I mean, we said last week it should be like Moose or someone like that. The guy is just going to keep dancing, and he's just going to keep dominating, and he's going to keep winning. Do you know what? I'm all for it. He's quickly become one of my favorites in NXT. He's just got such a thing about him. Like, this Obafemi character is, I believe, what Vince wanted Apollo Crews to be when he started being the Nigerian prince. This was what he wanted Apollo Crews to be, and it works so much better with Obafemi. He just looks like a complete badass, and yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, they've got to build someone really special to even have a remote chance of taking that title off of him, unless they're going to do like a ladder match like they normally do at Stand and Deliver, and someone will take it off from him then, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah, it's hard to feel who the next right person is for him at this moment. Like, obviously, Bobby suggested a couple of people from TNA, again, just with the crossover. Obviously, Jake Something, Steve Macklin, they would both be fun options to watch. But yeah, I mean, it's to feel like, who's going to beat Oba, who can be like a legit. That's the hard part with Oba right now, is finding someone you legitimately think could take that title from him. Hammerstone was a great opponent last week, but surprisingly, only went a few minutes. It only went a few minutes, and Hammerstone was put away. So yeah, I'm fascinated to see where it goes next. I'm guessing with Tony D's going to get another crack.
It's a case of TNA stars on WWE shows are meant to be there to make the WWE stars look good. WWE stars on TNA are there to make the TNA stars look good. So I get what you mean. I would have expected it to go a bit longer. Hammerstone is obviously a big jack guy, and he's a big deal in TNA, and at Obafemi, just destroying him in a very quick amount of time just makes Hammerstone look weak, and in turn makes the rest of the TNA roster look weak, if he can do that. Or he's supposed to do one or the other, but for me, Hammerstone's a big guy, and like, for me, that just made him look weak, and it makes the rest of TNA look weak. That's just how it come across to me.
I do feel like if there was one match that I would look back at so far and say, oh, I would have dealt with that a bit better, would have been that match, just because of the fact, like you said, Hammerstone, I don't think he's necessarily breaking boundaries in TNA. He was on the throwaway tag team match on the last show on Victory Road, but at the same time, like, he is someone that I think has got potential to be a top star in the future. Maybe that's something of why they could do it. I just feel like the match probably should have gone double the length of time for me.
I mean, he come from MLW, didn't he? I believe, and like, there was a load of hype when he left MLW, like going to WWE, going to AEW, and then he ended up in TNA, which was kind of like, okay, this is not a bad move for him. Like, it's probably a transitional period for him to see how he does there, but I don't think he's personally set the world alight since going to TNA.
No, not really for me. But I mean, I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of casual when it comes to TNA in this year. I do think TNA are doing great things when I get to see it, but I can't say I'm now watching each and every week just because time doesn't allow me to see every single show that's going on with TNA now. So, but hopefully it will continue to do both good things going forward. But CD has gone on to say about Josh Alexander, says that he believes that they're leaving in 2025. First lost to Nick Nemeth. With the C4. Nick Nemeth used the C4 spike, which of course is his move. Then he lost to Joe Hendry using the ankle lock as well. So, I mean, obviously, Josh Alexander probably doing a few L's on the way out. He did have an interview with WrestleMania UK just recently. He did say on that interview that apparently it would be, he's been with TNA for 6 years now, and it would be a crime against himself and his family not to explore other options. Obviously, he's been with the company for so long at this point. Obviously, so much could be on the table as well. So, it will be fascinating to see what is next for Josh Alexander, but I do agree. I believe the deal is up in February, so I could see him going on to something different after this.
Yeah, hopefully it's something bigger and better. Like, I don't really want to see him disappear. He's a really good wrestler. Maybe how old is he as well? That's the only other thing you got to worry about, because I'm pretty sure he is quite old, Josh Alexander, if I remember correctly. He's got to be like in his late 30s, isn't he?
Potentially. I mean, no, the thing is, in wrestling terms, it's not too bad. There's still time to do stuff.
I know, but it's kind of like this is going to be his last big contract, probably, before, because his next one after this is probably not going to be relatively any smaller. So, I mean, if I was him, you're going to want to try and make the most out of your next contract, especially if it's going to be like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years. You're going to want to make sure you get a good deal for yourself, make sure it sets you up for the next couple of years, and then, just see how it goes from there.
We'll have to wait and see how it will go down. But a couple of more questions, then we'll go into our one of the topics I would like to discuss on this video, as we're including the challenger for Nia Jax for Bad Blood. But first off, who is going to be the Judgment Day for the World Tag Team Championships? First of all, it would be Sami Zayn and Jey Uso, but they seem to have dropped the angle. Then it would be the New Day, but they lost last night. It feels more likely the New Day could be heading to a split at this particular time. But who do you think is going to be taking out the Judgment Day?
I mean, to be honest with you, I think them tag team titles are on the back foot at the minute. I think that they are simply being used to tell other stories, and it's exactly the same. We had a Bloodline use them. Like, we can obviously they were used last night in the story to drive a wedge between Kofi and Xavier. Which, dude, I am genuinely really excited for a Xavier Woods heel turn. It's one thing like I didn't know I really wanted, and now I want it so much that I just cannot wait. And then, you got. There's no real. I mean, dude, at this point, I'd say Priest and Rhea, by the looks of it, have probably got more chance of taking those tag team titles than anyone else, because no one else is getting any wins anywhere. So, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm trying to think who you could even. I can't even think off the top of my head of a tag team on Raw that deserves to take them titles off of them.
True story. There isn't that much tag team action, it seems, on a weekly basis on Raw at the minute for the amount of teams there are. But I would say that I think Sami Zayn and Jey Uso still could be the plan. It just feels that at the moment, Jey Uso is going for the IC strap. Sami Zayn is obviously looking to go for the World Heavyweight Championship against Gunther, which I now believe will take place at Crown Jewel. It seems too late now for Bad Blood, and obviously Crown Jewel would be a fun place to do it because Sami beat Gunther last time. Sami is also undefeated when it comes to Saudi Arabia shows as well. So he would seem like also like with a big support as well going over there. So I think it would be the perfect place actually to do that match for Gunther to pick up the win. But I do feel that Sami and Jey Uso are going to join the mix. Jey Uso's already in the mix with the Judgment Day supporting Damon and Rhea. As I said, where I think for War Games, I do think there is going to be a War Games match with the Terror Twins, Sami and Jey Uso against the Judgment Day. So I think eventually it could be Sami and Jey. However, I wouldn't be surprised if say it was Finn Balor and JD McDonough kept these titles all the way into the new year. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Penta and Phoenix that took the belts off of them.
Yeah, I mean, it was not going to surprise me at this point. Like we've just said, there's no. I mean, obviously, with what happened on Raw last night and between Rhea, Jay, and Finn, maybe that is the direction they're going. But I've got no. Like I said, there's no one really on there. Like I tell you, like I said, I can't even think of another tag team that's on the show at the minute because the last 3, 4, 5 weeks, it's just been consistently the same people tagging and having the same matches. So, I mean, look, just the Street Profits lose the tag team title in NXT, and it's like, and they're on SmackDown anyway. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? Do you know what I mean?
It's a very difficult division to handle right now. It feels like it needs a bit of love and care, really, at this particular
Yeah.
time, to be honest. But Javon Evans is the shout for Obafemi and to dethrone Obafemi as well for the North American title, says C Nation. It's a match I want to see. I think we'll get that Halloween Havoc, that match. So it'll be interesting to see if you will get your way with the title change. Josh Alexander, 37 years old, apparently, according to C Nation Dog as well. Mike is in the house. Mike, thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. It says, hey guys, when they do Saturday night's main event, it needs to be huge and must-see TV. A title change or return would be a big way to get fans watching the next Saturday night's main event. I suppose that's a speculation question because obviously they were twice a year in WWE in the noughties. They were very frequent, obviously, back in the day in the 80s all the way through to the 90s. How often is this going to happen? Is this going to be strictly just a December thing, or is this going to be something we might see once or twice throughout the year?
I mean, I feel like these are kind of almost like C-list pay-per-views. Like you have your big four, big five, if you include Money in the Bank. Then you have your B lists that just appear every year. And this is kind of feels to me like one of these ones like Clash at the Castle is a C-list pay-per-view because we don't get it every year. We get it as and when it applies. And I think that's what Saturday Night Main Event is going to be. It's just going to be a pay-per-view that as and when it applies, we'll get it. Like Bash in Berlin. We're never going to... When's the next time we're going to get a Bash in Berlin? Do you know what I mean? C-list pay-per-view. Do you know what I mean? It's just... it's something they can go... Dude, they could do it every week if they wanted to. It's just one of them things. But it's like... That's how I get the impression they're going to do it. Like, they might have a theme for next December, so we might not get a Saturday Night's Main Event next year. It might be, I don't know, December to Dismember or something. Do you know what I mean? They bring something else back. So yeah, I think at the minute it's just a kind of, I think it's just gonna be a one and done for the time being, and it will be a case of we'll use it as and when.
I think a lot of people's ears started to bleed when they heard December to Dismember. Some painful memories of ECW back then. But yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, like you say, I think it's a really good shout to say C-list. And obviously, being a television special rather than actually have to be subscribed to a Peacock or a WWE Network or next year Netflix as well. So it's good for that television special. But obviously, it would be nice to see a title change or a big turn, something on this that would be groundbreaking. So, Mike, we do hope that your wishes come true because we'll be on the bandwagon with you. But I'm going to just quickly suggest something I'd like to see for Saturday night's main event, just because I like one of these in December. We used to have them in December for the last decade or so. I'd like a TLC match personally.
It's not a bad shout. I mean, like if it was me and I was doing Saturday night's main event, I'd make the whole presentation feel like a 90s pay-per-view. Like even bust out like, I don't know, a Sony camcorder from 1999 to film it on. Do you know what I mean? Something really cheesy and crap, just so we get the old grainy footage. And hey, shoot it in 4x3. Is it 4x3 the aspect ratio? Just so you know, no widescreen anymore. Just go back to that narrow stuff they used to do, just so we can watch it back on the network with WWE plastered down the either side of the screen.
I feel like GTV in the modern day, honestly, it would be it's a throwback storyline for anyone there. See, this is the only reason they're delaying the Sami Zayn Gunther matches because, well, Bad Blood, the match card is full. Very true. And also, like I say, I think Crown Jewel just feels like a better destination. And they've delayed it very well, to be honest, with that one. Mike says that Raw was very good, but hated the ending. It's getting repetitive, seeing Judgment Day getting the better of Priest and Rhea. Rhea and Priest need to get their payback or fans will lose interest. I feel like for the start of the story, though, I feel like Judgment Day always were the ones that were outnumbered, obviously, even though they're the ones that had the 5-on-2 advantage. I feel it's been good to see them get a little bit of momentum going into the shows, but I do feel next week is the week that Priest and Rhea need to find a way to get something back.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to that point now where we're expecting all of these guys to move on and do something else. I mean, the problem they've done with this story is that they've insisted that Finn is always going to be there to stab Priest in the back, and it's kind of like I imagine it's a story that they're going to revisit somewhere like down the line, maybe middle of next year, if Priest ever becomes world heavyweight champion or something again. Do you know what I mean? So it's just getting to the point where it's like I'm bored of it now, and it's like I'm not necessarily bored of it, but it's just the same thing every week. It's someone gets the one up on the other one till the following week, and it yo-yos back and forth, and there's nothing. Like, give me an exploding tour bus or something. Do you know what I mean? Just give me something to heighten it a bit more. Not the fact that, we're gonna have a match. They're gonna run interference. LWO comes up. It's kind of getting samey, and I'm waiting for the next big plot in this story if they're going to keep it going, or essentially just wait till Bad Blood when it's over.
It's interesting to see how they're going to go with it, or the directions and stuff. Obviously, we'll do predictions closer to the time, but like you say, how is it going to continue after this? Is it going to finish at Bad Blood? I think all that's going to answer a lot of our questions, and I think the way we've speculated, we think this goes further. I mean, I've suggested War Games already in this stream, so yeah. I think it's just waiting for that next layer of the story. When does Jay become in full time? Obviously, perhaps after Bron Breakker potentially retains his Intercontinental title in the match next week, maybe Jay then has his focus fully on what's going on then, of protecting or trying to help Rhea and Damian Priest. Maybe if Sami Zayn starts to lose against Gunther, then he can move over into the mix and how they can get it over. But there is also a big argument you could make that Ilya Dragunov could also enter the mix, because obviously he was given a threat this past week from the Judgment Day towards the end of Monday Night Raw, after Ilya had been, I suppose, vocally supportive of Damian, Rhea, and Jey Uso as well.
Yeah, I mean, if this is their way of trying to freshen up the story, okay, sure, we'll see how it goes. But throwing random people in like Ilya Dragunov, although I appreciate it, there's other people that you could put in this spot that probably could add more context to the story, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like Ilya Dragunov just seems like a bit of a, we'll throw him in to keep him on TV, whereas like I said, you could have thrown anyone in. You could have thrown I don't know, my brain goes, you could throw R-Truth into this situation, and technically story-wise he makes more sense than Ilya Dragunov. But I don't know, man. Like I said, it's going to be fun to see what they do. And like I said, if the idea is maybe Dragunov is they're going to put him in instead of Sami, because obviously if they're planning on doing, like you said, the War Games, maybe it's Dragunov that's in the War Games match and not Sami Zayn.
Be interesting to see. It certainly could be that way. We'll have to wait and find out. We're going to break away from the comments just for a couple of minutes, because there's a couple of topics we want to touch through. And everyone that's joined us, thank you for watching. Get involved with your questions, hit that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe as well. But firstly, want to quickly talk about an interesting story on SmackDown, because Bayley and Naomi will be in a tag team match against Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton this upcoming Friday on SmackDown. If one of them gets the pinfall, they'll be taking on Nia Jax at Bad Blood. If someone takes a loss, though, for that team, they're off of SmackDown. I'm presuming on their way over to Monday Night Raw, but it's an interesting stipulation, that one, because obviously there is a space for a match at Bad Blood, but at the same time, I could make an argument that Bayley and Naomi have had some not strong booking in 2025. If you take Bayley past WrestleMania, past the title run, the last sort of few weeks she's sort of been hit and miss. It feels the title run was a bit lackluster in places. Naomi has come back, has been on SmackDown, hasn't really done a lot in general for me. I wouldn't be against her making a move to Monday Night Raw, for example. Is there going to be a number one contender where the faces win here, or can you see someone actually being kicked off of SmackDown?
So wait on, let me get it straight. Whoever gets the pinfall gets the number one.
Yeah, so if they pin Tiffany or they pin Nia, they will face Nia at Bad Blood, and the other person does not. So it's either Bayley and Naomi have to coexist to get the victory.
Yeah.
Only one of them can get the title match. Of course, if they lose, the one who's pinned is kicked off of SmackDown.
Yeah, see that. Oh, whoever gets pinned, so only one of them will get kicked off. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, they're definitely not winning. No way, because that whole coexisting is obviously going to be the key reason why neither of these two are going to win. Wow. Who do you actually remove? Like, I really don't want to see Bayley go back to Raw. Like, we've just had that whole damage control thing, and it's really something I don't want to revisit again. You could be right. It most likely is probably going to be Naomi. Give Naomi a fresh start over on Raw. Someone else for Liv to maybe face potentially in the future. But that's such a weird match stipulation. Like, I like it because it's different, but it's such a weird one. Like, loser leaves town, essentially, or whoever gets pinned leaves town. It's kind of, it's a shocking one. But yeah, I expect Naomi to probably lose and have to go to Raw then, or NXT.
Oh, NXT could be a shout as well. Yeah, would not be against that at all, to be honest. Especially, been talking about Jordan Grace, by the way. I want another Grace versus Naomi match, to be honest. That'd be fun to see in the future. But the thing is, why I like it as well, the stipulation, is because usually you would turn around and say, oh, it's so obvious, Bayley or Naomi, one of them is winning and they're getting themselves a title match. But adding this spanner in the works does mean it could go either way. It feels like there's a creative plan, whatever happens here.
Who's Naomi married to? Is it Jimmy or Jay?
Jimmy.
Yes, Naomi then, 100%. If it was Jay, and obviously Jay being on SmackDown, being on Raw, then I would have said yeah. But obviously, it's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be Naomi. That just that just makes sense.
We'll have to wait and see what happened, but it's an early thought about that match there. But let us know what you think in the comments below.
That's their way of getting Jimmy back on Raw.
Yeah, they could do that. They simply could do that. CD actually thinks as well that Naomi takes the pinfall and goes to Raw, so it's interesting indeed there. Leo, you've good to join us in the chat. This is the one that's come up first for you here. When should Dominic win a world championship? This is a very interesting question.
Oh, I mean, I reckon if you're going to do it, not next year, following year, he wins Money in the Bank.
I agree.
He's your 2026 Money in the Bank winner, and that's how he gets his first world championship.
I think that's a good way to do it, you know.
And Money in the Bank. And he wins the World Heavyweight Championship.
I think he should be away from the Judgment Day at this point, and I think absolutely. I think he should be aligned with Logan Paul.
Wow, that's actually really good. I kind of like that. But then they teased that there's a whole thing that they could put him and Rhea back together afterwards. You see how they did that on Raw, which I don't mind because then we can get a proper Eddie Guerrero China kind of story out of the two of them as well. But that's something I'd want to revisit in the future. But yeah, no, I'd like the sound of Logan Paul and Dominic Mysterio. But yeah, definitely, he is the definition of a Money in the Bank world champion.
Yeah, I don't think he gets there any other way. And I think everyone would be horrified with him winning the briefcase. And it's kind of like, please hope he would fail. Please hope he would fail. But actually cashing in, having the moment, I think would be, I think it'd be pretty spectacular. But I'm going to agree with NXT. I think 2026 at the earliest is the right place and time. I'm going to ask you quickly because you want to talk about this topic here today. So let's bring it in for us now. AJ Styles, the phenomenal one. Apparently there was no creative plans for him in WWE. Are you mad? AJ, one of the best wrestlers in the world. I can think of 3 without even thinking of anything. LA Knight needs challengers for the United States Championship. They have history. You can revisit that one quite comfortably and easily. I think a match with someone like Carmelo Hayes, for example, an up-and-comer, would be really beneficial for said superstar that AJ can pass knowledge to and also give a victory to if he's, say, on the way out or on the way down the pecking order. There are other guys like Grayson Waller, Austin Theory you can do that with as well. Or the most obvious one that's smacking everybody in the face. There's a crossover with TNA going on right now. Put him over there for a little while and give people what they want. It's madness that AJ Styles has no plans currently in WWE and has not been seen since, obviously, the storyline with Cody Rhodes, which finished at Clash of the Castle. He's still been doing the tours. He's just not been on TV.
There's even more you could do. Like, so eventually, at some point, you'd think they do Finn Balor AJ. You know, it's a story that's never really been done, so that's one that needs to be done. Dude, they could even revisit Gunter AJ and do that again. Like, why not, man? Like, AJ's not exactly doing anything. It's like, why not have him come over? Just like they had Randy come over and be an opponent for him. Like, I know it kind of doesn't make sense having 2 SmackDown guys come over, but that's something for him. Yeah, it's crazy the fact that one of the best wrestlers in the world cannot get screen time because they have nothing for him. I mean, dude, yeah, TNA, this dude is. If you want, send him to TNA for 3 months. Have him elevate TNA, make him go and be world champion in TNA, be a heel, and then have someone like Joe Hendry win the title off of him. Imagine how much that's going to do for TNA. TNA are having the best year of like ticket sales since the last time I could even remember. You throw AJ Styles in that, you're just going to sell more.
Absolutely, yeah. To be fair, it'd be better than a decade. And to be fair, Bound for Glory, their biggest show of the year, is coming up. So let's get phenomenal. Put him in the Hall of Fame there for a TNA as well. It's a great time to do it.
Dude, that's a great shout. Yeah.
Why not? Why not? You can't have Joe at the minute. He's in AEW, so I think it would be amazing to see that. I agree with this, by the way. Why is Triple H not a fan of AJ Styles? This is similar to Bobby Lashley. I believe he's a fan, just doesn't have creative plans. It could be just a simple case that the contract is up soon, maybe, and it's a simple case of that. Maybe Triple H feels that we've seen the best of AJ Styles, and perhaps maybe it might be time for him to do something different, maybe in his eyes.
Nah, man, you cannot get rid of AJ. Is one of them guys that WWE should be throwing a checkbook at for the rest of his life to make sure he goes nowhere. The fact that I just find it so baffling that like I said, he's not on TV and they don't have anything for him. Like, not even anything like you know, their stuff they do, like their 365s or their 24/7s, or do you know what I mean? They don't have like AJ doing something like that, or doing like, I don't know, even just being like a spokesperson for WWE and having him go places. Like, it's just really shocking. Like, dude, have him go to TNA. He'll do wonders for TNA. He'll get their numbers up. It gives AJ something fresh to do. You give him a world title run over on TNA for a couple of months. That is re-sparks him, reignites him. He can find a new character and a new storyline and a new gimmick and a new shtick to just come back to WWE with. You then bring him back to Raw, SmackDown, say, drop him into TNA now, bring him back after WrestleMania or just before WrestleMania, even for like the Raw afterwards. You bring him back in, you put him straight back into a world title scene with whoever's world champion at the time.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm totally down for all of that personally. And no, give us what we want. We want AJ Styles to do some time in TNA.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty awesome to see. Last question from me for you, from to be to you, is: did you see the Wyatt 6 stuff on Raw this past week? And did you see that there's a QR code coming up once again? Apparently, someone's keeping a secret. Wondering who that might be.
Yeah, I've seen the screenshots. I haven't seen the video itself. But yeah, it's very interesting. It seems to be like someone is making a comeback. Whether it is that person or not, it's going to be interesting to see. I kind of think that it does need to happen. Like, it's been. When was the last time Alexa Bliss was even on TV, dude? Like, I can't even remember. Like, I know she's obviously been pregnant and stuff, so you're looking at like 9 months ago-ish.
Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, because someone will know in the comments if I've not got this right, but it's either 2021 or 2022. It was just after SummerSlam. It was against Charlotte Flair. And I believe it was some form of Extreme Rules, but I think it was Extreme Rules. I want to say it was 2022.
Wasn't she? No, I swear she was backstage as well at some point when Bray come back as well, wasn't she? And she was involved in like vignettes backstage. But like, yeah, dude, man, like I find it baffling that when Bliss come up, she went on to be like a 5, 6, 7-time world champion, and then just stopped winning world titles and just kind of like existed on the roster and didn't do anything and ended up getting stupid cuddly toys as a gimmick. And I'm like, what is going on? This woman is like one of your best wrestlers you've had in years, and they just don't put her in a world title scene.
True. Just say with us some clarity from our comments. Thank you, everyone in our chat. Kicking it with Leo says Royal Rumble 2023, and of course CD does the same as well. Apparently going against Bianca Belair, was her last match there, and Byron also getting in on the act as well. Thank you all for informing us of that. So yeah, it's very true. Something obviously it's been the best part of more than 18 months. Could be building on to nearly 2 years by the time she does come back. I think is what is referring to this, and I'm excited with the prospect that we could be getting Alexa Bliss back. I feel that even though it's not my favorite gimmick of Alexa Bliss, I'm more of the goddess. I liked the Bliss that came up to the main roster and dominated for the first couple of years. As CD comes in with his, we need a fun fact from CD every stream, and thankfully he's brought one in for us here. Since she's not been champion since 2018.
Told you.
True story. Long time. Those were the days for me of enjoying Alexa Bliss's work the most. However, she had so much fun working with Bray Wyatt. She had so much fun working in amongst the Wyatt stuff, even though that wasn't also fully my taste. So far, what I've seen with the Wyatt 6 has not been as supernatural, and I feel that it's been decent the way it's played out. I thought the street fight with the American Maid was fun the other week. They did it on TV as well. I'm interested to see where it goes next. And I do think Bliss would fit in well with this group if she was to come back in now. She could even be, I suppose, a voice that could be like a leader along with Uncle Howdy as well. She would be a big influence in that group. She could be someone that could go for women's championships again, or perhaps maybe she could be someone that with Nikki Cross could go and win those women's tag team championships.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I think the problem as well is like Chad Gable's lost a lot of his momentum as well. Like, bearing in mind, like 3 or 4 months ago, we was all raved on this guy should be IC champion. Like, still justice for Chad Gable, by the way. But like, he was like on the upper echelons of being like the next Kurt Angle, and the last 3 weeks essentially just taking L's to the Wyatt 6, and then they come up with this whole American Made promo, and it's like, this promo doesn't work because you've not won, you've not done anything. You've only been together 5 minutes, and you're making it out like you're the greatest faction in WWE history. It doesn't make sense to me. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm the same. Like, obviously, not a lot of spooky bollocks going on with the White Six. So, again, I'm like I said, I think my biggest worry has always been that they do it right by Bray, and I think that they need to do something, because essentially this is just a group of people that dress up in Halloween costumes. Like, there's nothing, like I said, spooky bollocks about it. But whether they bring Bliss back and, like I said, they go for them tag team titles again. I just genuinely feel that those tag team titles are below Alexa Bliss at this point. Like, Alexa Bliss should be in your world title scene. I don't know, man. Like, they need to do something with that whole faction, and maybe Alexa Bliss is the next key into the next process. But dude, the faction isn't there to win titles. Do you know what I mean? So I can't even see them winning titles at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, sometimes as an attraction, you don't need to win championships. I think that's always something about that as well. And what I kind of like about this group so far is they have not been, when I had the Fiend with Bray Wyatt and stuff, they immediately put him in the title scene. And I liked the fact that it was kind of like with this group, it's kind of like, well, we're going with American Made, we're going with Chad Gable and stuff. And they had the reasons for doing so as well. Everything ticked boxes and made sense. And Chad, obviously, like you say, yeah, it's not gone the best for him, I think, in the last few months. But at the same time, I know that, Chad said in interviews and stuff, especially Chris Van Vliet was one of them that I've seen. It's like, it was an honor for him to work with Bo. And obviously, Bray was one of the first people he got to work with when he came to the main roster. So I think to be involved, that to put some extra stank as well on the when he was hitting those Sister Abigail's as well, to really sell them, I think was a bit of an honor for Chad as well. And obviously being Bo's first match in the company in 5 years also. But hopefully now that the American Made side of things, they can go on and do something different and do something that can make them work. For me, I thought it was very goofy what they had on Raw with that vignette. And I think it kind of summed up perfectly, because like you said, it's like, they haven't done anything, but I think also that's part of, for me, I felt was kind of the point almost, is like, well, we're American, and it's like, almost like you will be on our side because obviously we're going to play the patriarch card even though you're not with us. It's kind of a bit like it's almost in the sarcastic reverse psychology kind of way, like all these things that we know we were supposed to say that's usually people would like, but you're going to hate me for saying it instead because I've not got anything to back it up, I suppose. But moving on to the White Six, yeah, I mean, Bliss could go for the women's championship if she was to come back. For me, I think the women's tag team title scene would be better just for now, because her and Nikki Cross have got that long-term history, I suppose, is where I would go with it at this point. And I think currently the direction with those championships, I think is certainly filled up for the foreseeable future when you see Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch on one side when Becky eventually returns. You look at the other side, obviously, right now, holding the championship was Nia Jax, but Charlotte Flair's due to return. You've got Bianca Belair, you've got Jade Cargill on the other side of the bracket as well. Bayley's there. So, I mean, there's a lot of star power there right now, but it just goes to show how strong those divisions are. But is there anything you'd like to mention before we go back into the comments?
It just shows how much that those women's divisions need mid-card titles, but we could be waiting from now till Christmas for them.
Can I just say very quickly, as a mid-card title suggestion, Michin is having one of the best years under the radar as well. I don't think I see enough praise for Michin. The work she's doing this year, they found a spot for on SmackDown. She gets regular TV time. She has great segments. She's gone, to the HBIC. She's really gone to that sort of level there. She's been with kendo sticks, with trash cans. She's having a way old time, and it's been fun watching her work on SmackDown. I think she deserves some praise.
She deserves a mid-card title. That's what she deserves.
True story indeed. And let's go back to the comments now. I must admit, I might have lost track of some of the comments, but we're going to get back into them and we'll revisit ones that are older comments as well. Starting with kicking with Leo. Why is WWE not putting a stipulation for Liv versus Rhea match? I feel their feud should have a stipulation for their match. It's a great question, Leo. For me, I'm going to answer it first, if you don't mind, Nick, Steve, is that I think it is meant for the third match. I think that although we've seen it with Punk and Drew, they had a stipulation for the second match. A lot of matches in WWE don't always have a stipulation match in the second match. And I think the reasoning for this one is that Rhea had Dom in her corner in the first match and he turned on her. This time, Rhea knows that Dom is not on her side and she knows that she's at the numbers disadvantage. So she's willing to go in just knowing that and having the match itself. If it doesn't go right the second time, which we've already said we think it probably won't, I think then it comes to the third match where perhaps maybe you do something, you stick Dom in a shark cage or something, or you start getting the weapons out or something like that you can do for Crown Jewel. But NXT, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why. The fact that they could do a screwy finish if they just have a normal match, so then that way it pushes it to a third match, which is it's just one of them things. I mean, I'm even just trying to think of what gimmick you could even put on the match at this point, like, because if you've got to do something that really does protect Liv, because Liv really needs to retain in this match if they're going to push it to a third. And like I said, if you just do a normal match, you can at least do a screwy finish, which just gives them the opportunity of doing a third match.
Totally agree, 100%. If I had my way, and we're going now to the theme of this video as well, I would have the final stipulation match between these two on Saturday night's main event in December, and that's where Rhea wins the title back. That's when Liv then can focus herself trying to win the title back herself by going through the Royal Rumble, and plus then Liv and the Judgment Day could have lost in War Games against the Terror Twins and whoever's aligned with them as well. So I think it'd be the perfect place to finish everything off if it was my personal take of how I would book it from here to there.
I was really concerned you were going to say a Punjabi prison match for a minute there. I was just like, Liv doesn't need to climb it. Liv just fits straight through the holes.
I mean, it wasn't an idea of mine, but no one can see through those bars, unfortunately, so I don't think it's ever going to work. CD's just going to accept that Jey Uso is never winning a singles title. WWE always gives you hope, but then they take it away from you at the last minute. I think the thing is, though, they're taking it away from one of the biggest rising stars right now in Bron Breakker. I mean, Bron has been kicking ass, and he's been doing great work on Raw.
Yeah, he's the breakout star this year, man, him and Tiffany. And Tiffany is, well, to be fair, they've both kind of died off the last 2 weeks maybe, but like I said, Tiffany's guaranteed a title match at some point, which she's probably going to inevitably win that championship, and Bron's just on a rise, man. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bron holds that title till WrestleMania.
Agreed.
Depending on where the Bloodline story is at that point, maybe Jey can go on and win it there. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still want to see Sheamus win it just because it's the only title he hasn't won. Hell, I want to see John Cena win it because it's the only title he hasn't won. So, there's loads of possibilities for it next year. But at the minute, Bron Breakker is the guy at the minute.
And to be fair, what it would do for Bron Breakker for Jey Uso to not win that match, because Jey Uso is someone that's a WrestleMania main eventer that Bron could put away. But to go on to the point of what CD actually wants is Jey Uso to win, because I'm talking about how great Bron Breakker is. It's not what you want to hear, CD. I've gathered that by this point. But Jey Uso, though, I mean, he definitely needs to get his glory at some point, because the guy is a merch seller. When he comes out, he looks like a superstar with the way the yeets are going and the whole crowd. It's like a rock concert when he's out there, or hip hop concert if you want, because it's a rap song for him. But like it just feels like, for me, he would scream as perfect Money in the Bank 2025 for me.
Yeah, totally him. Yeah, I mean, the minute where it's currently sitting, I would agree with that. I would have said LA Knight, because obviously LA Knight deserves to win it as well. But he's cool with that US title at the minute. And yeah, I mean, it's shocking how you sit there and they cut promos like that, where he's like, "You've been here 14 years, never won a singles title. I've been here 6 months and I've done it." And it's like, damn, you wouldn't believe how common that trait is for a lot of people that have never won a singles title. Do you know what I mean? They've just come in, won tag titles after tag titles, never won a singles title. Mind you, there's been wrestlers that have gone through their whole career and never won a title. So, yeah, it's never fun to highlight it, but it still is kind of surprising when you do hear it every now and again. It's kind of like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I can see Jey with a world title in the future. I can see him with the IC title. I can see him with the US title. It's just, unfortunately for him, he's just a small cog in another story in a minute, which is that Bloodline story. And it's kind of like, we can't give him a mid-card title at the minute, or even a world title, because he's a smaller part of a bigger wheel. And it's just like, unfortunately, that's Jey's downfall at the minute. I feel sorry for Jimmy as well. Jimmy ain't even on TV. And it's like his brother's sitting there getting like this massive, like he's raising his bar, raising his level to main event status. And Jimmy can't even get on TV because of booking.
War Games. So I'm going to say for now. That's all I'm saying. But I agree with you. The thing is, if you give Jay the title right now and loses it 2 weeks later or a month later, everyone's upset at the fact that it's only a short title reign. So, yeah, like you say, W's in a no-win situation with it right this second. Should Fraxium versus Motor City Machine Guns happen right away, or should it be put off till 2025? Asked Mike.
Dude, I think they have to do it straight away, to be fair, because they just don't have no tag teams in that division. I mean, like I said earlier on, unless you're going to take them to NXT titles and put them on the Bloodline as well, and then Motor City Machine Guns are the ones that take them titles back, I don't know. But then again, isn't the Dusty Classic due soon as well? So, do you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that's due soon as well. So, there's another thing there for them to do.
I'm excited by that. I'd forgotten about that. Could be something that could be due some point. And I think the breakout tournaments will be coming as well. I would not be surprised. I'm going to put my neck out here and say I think CM Punk is going to mention about a breakout tournament this evening on NXT. I think that's the reason he's going there. And I think there is a potential that someone might also cause a stir with Punk, interrupt him. And I think Punk might have an NXT wrestler face off in the first CW show as the tune-up match for him going into Hell in a Cell. So I think that could be two things to look out for tonight with CM Punk on NXT. I would have said Sean Spears would have been perfect, but he's injured, so I don't think that will be the one.
Typical. I won't lie, I wouldn't actually mind seeing Punk Ethan Page. Like, I think that's got some stick behind it as well. But dude, I don't know if you've heard as well, the St. Louis show has had to move arenas because it hasn't done well ticket-wise, which is shocking in itself. They've gone from something like a 17,000 capacity stadium to like a 3,000 because it's just not sold well as well. Like, to be fair, it's still probably going to be a good show for the people that do turn up because you're guaranteed to have a really good seat now.
Yeah, very true. And you get to see Randy Orton. That's been promised. So, yeah, there is something about it. I was surprised that it didn't do so well on the ticket sales, but it is what it is, I guess, right at this moment. Maybe this Missouri is not a big NXT town at this moment.
Apparently not.
You know where Chicago is going to go.
Do you know what the actual problem is I don't know for because obviously the TV deal was obviously they're moving to CW, but like over here you can't watch NXT on TV. You can only watch it on the network. So I don't know if it's something to do with the fact that they haven't had regulated. Like if you're a wrestling fan, unless you pay for the network or something. But even then, it's on cash. I don't know. It's really weird, like how NXT's been broadcast recently, and then hopefully that'll turn around. Like I was very shocked that it didn't sell as well. Like I can't imagine the tickets were stupidly expensive. But then again, this is WWE who have just had their best non-big pay-per-view sell at wherever. Bash in Berlin was made so much money apparently for 13,000 of people. It's just shocking.
And we know why. Leo's asking, I think this TNA and NXT partnership, they should do Ash Bayley versus Kalani Jordan, considering they were going to have a feud and have Ash win the North American Championship from it as a shock. I think it would be a fun story to do. Like you said, they have chemistry in previous history, so certainly to do the match certainly would be a lot of fun. I personally would have Kalani win though, but at the same time, though, I think either way, I think it would be a fun match to do.
Yeah, it's just obviously that NXT, so that TNA women's division is kind of a bit lackluster at the minute when it comes to talent to take that title for Jordan Grace. And do you really want Ash Bayley to lose to the North American champion and then try and be a credible threat for that TNA women's division championship? Do you know what I mean?
It'd be interesting to see what they do. But I'd be down for seeing at some point anyway, whilst if Ash does come out of the Knockouts title scene. I feel at the moment potentially Rosemary could be the one that could be in the shout for the Bound for Glory show. We'll have to wait and see. They've kind of built up both in one way, so let's see what goes down. AJ Styles works best on Raw, says Byron. Thanks for the take on that one. Certainly, I've always liked his SmackDown work personally, but Raw as well. It's AJ Styles, I don't complain.
Do you know what it is? AJ you always know, you look at certain wrestlers and they just are a SmackDown or a Raw guy. And for me, AJ is a SmackDown guy for me.
I've always felt the same as well. I think when you see the 2016 days, it comes to my head. So we are looking at Royal Rumble 2025. Well, we haven't been, but we can do, Byron, if you want to. Who's your early pick for the men and the women's Royal Rumble matches if you had to put on the spot right now?
I mean, Liv Morgan is obviously probably, depending on how the booking goes, maybe she's up there as one. Becky Lynch, if she's returning. Charlotte Flair, if she's returning. even someone like a Bianca or Jade. At the minute, there's no kind of standout name that I can say definitively, but there is a good 5 or 6 people that could easily win it at this point, just based on their booking alone. In terms of the men, dude, I mean, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, there's a couple of guys that you could sit there and throw to that one, especially with what they want to do at Mania. And if you want to get that main event match between Seth Rollins and CM Punk, I think ideally one of those two has to win the Royal Rumble.
If I had to predict now, I would say Liv Morgan for the women, because I do believe we're going to get Rhea versus Liv versus Becky. We can find a way to get Becky in at a later time. And I think for the men's, I'm going to go with The Rock. I think The Rock is going to win it. And I think it'll be The Rock versus Cody.
No. Hang on. Doesn't that make him a 3-time Royal Rumble winner as well?
Won it in 2000. I don't believe he's won it since. So no, it'd be a 2-time winner.
2000 was the dodgy one with the Big Show, wasn't it?
It was. Technically, he didn't win that one either, but he did win.
Okay, that's fine. No, because I was trying to think. I'm sure he'd won a second one somewhere. So maybe that's not as bad then. I was very shocked that they were going to have Rock be up there in the echelons of Austin for Rumble wins.
He's up there, I suppose, of best of all time, but we'll have to wait and see. But that's a very early prediction. It's probably going to change between now and then if we're going to be brutally honest.
I guarantee it will.
CD wants to see Alexa Bliss go back to the Goddess. He didn't like the scary character. I wasn't really either a big fan of the
wasn't scary.
No, not scary either. Triple H wants to see Chad Gable struggle. He says he's struggled enough. I don't agree with that comment, but the thing is, he's not winning the IC title, so we will say justice for Chad Gable. Alexa Bliss is a 3-time women's tag team champion. I feel she was to win those enough. It's time for her to get back into the women's championship picture. Fair play on that one. Kick It Leo says, would it be a bad decision if they gave the Royal Rumble win to Liv Morgan next year after has had this year? I think it would be good. It's the right year currently to give it to her. She keeps the championship. It's the wrong year to give it to her, but she drops the title. She's been most consistently in the title scene for her entire career, so it would be the right time. She would continue the momentum of being a top player if she was to win the Royal Rumble.
Give her. This is how you get the triple threat. I've worked it out now. Becky's last one eliminates Liv or something, but the refs don't see Liv get eliminated. Liv eliminates Becky. Liv wins the Rumble, which should have been Becky. We get Austin finish, essentially. That in turn then gets you triple threat for Mania.
I absolutely love that as a great, because again, Liv Morgan has always been the runner-up, so it plays also into the story of always being the bridesmaid, not the bride. And officially, she does get it, but she shouldn't have done. So I really like that idea. I think that works really, really nicely. Especially they can just do a singles match at Elimination Chamber, screwy finish. Oh, look, we have to do the triple threat match.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're cooking, Steve. You're cooking. I already knew the Wyatt Six are going after the Judgment Day next. I can't wait to see Dirty Dominic Mysterio and Uncle Howdy have a reaction. Lol. That would be hilarious to see, actually, at that. I really want to see the Final Testament as well. I think that would be cool to see because Karrion Kross has affected so many people and made them change their ways. We're now seeing it with Xavier Woods, so it would be fun for that narrative of the Wyatt Six of trying to, chat with the family stuff. So Kross as well, then with the way he corrupts other people to change that influence going forward for Kross would be quite fun. But I can't help but see this from CD and say, do you know, it would be amazing to see Dirty Dom's reaction here.
Yeah, dude, Dom was just gonna be like on it as like spooky bollocks time. Like he's gonna be just running around hiding under blankets with his dino nuggies trying to escape the Wyatt Six. It's gonna be great, man. He's in some of the best character work. I mean, I want to see Xavier Woods go back to Kross and do whatever they were supposed to do with those guys and do whatever they were supposed to do in terms of a story beat. Like if there was something there, I think that would be good for him. But yeah, dude, you like I said, Dom is just doing some great character work, and having him being scared of people running around in Halloween masks and Halloween costumes is just gonna be fantastic.
That certainly is indeed there. Byron was giving his early Royal Rumble predictions. Rhea Ripley and Drew McIntyre, two very good picks indeed. There would not be against either of those being there. He says, here's my predictions then for next year's surprise entrance for those Rumble matches. Go for host names including Alexa Bliss, Mandy Rose, Carmella, Charlotte Flair, Roxanne Perez, Shinsuke Nakamura, John Morrison, Wade Barrett, Trick Williams, Seth Rollins, and Cora Jade. CD says, AJ Styles is a SmackDown guy. After all, AJ Styles used to say SmackDown is the house that he built. Absolutely, indeed, would agree with that 100%. Who should Seth freaking Rollins versus Bronson Reed? Who should win? Sorry, apologies, CD. And that's a hard decision, as if Seth wins, he looks good for CM Punk. But if Bronson wins, then he would be his biggest win.
Ultimately, what is the end goal for Bronson Reed at this point? Because I don't. Because this, I mean, it's you're doing well to build a star, but what are you aiming for? Is it a WrestleMania match? Is it a mid-card title? Is it a Royal Rumble win? Do you know what I mean? I don't. That's the part I don't know at the minute with Bronson Reed, is I don't know where they're trying to get him to. I mean, by the looks of it, the IC title is probably his goal at the minute, but it's already on someone who they're trying to build up. So I don't understand what the end goal was with him.
Give me that match, though. Braun Breaker versus Big Bronson Reed right now. The Battle of the Bronze. Yeah. I would like to see that massively. But just to say, to answer your question, what's the direction with Bronson Reed? To make him a believable threat in a singles match against Seth Rollins, I think, is the direction. I don't think a title is in his future. I think they're just trying to push him further up the pecking order. I think a match against Seth Rollins is something that will make him feel like a bigger star moving forward. But I do think Seth ultimately is the person that should win, because like you said there, what's the direction moving forward? Well, obviously, if you want to build Rollins versus Punk for WrestleMania, that's the bigger match right at this moment. So you're getting into WrestleMania season as well. So Rollins winning the feud would ultimately be the right thing. The big question, I suppose, would be is Rollins versus Reed a one and done, or do you do 2 or 3 matches? That's how you'll know whether Reed will get some wins in amongst this. But ultimately, it would be Seth Rollins that would be coming out the victor of the feud.
I don't know, because if the deal is to build Bronson up, surely Bronson needs to walk out of that feud. That's the whole thing. That's probably why you're going to get a trilogy of matches rather more than anything else, because Bronson's got to get a win out of there somewhere. If anything, he should win the first one.
Maybe he should win the first one and then he loses the following 2. One other big Bronson Reed thing I'll just mention very quickly. 2 things, actually. First off, I think it's the most eliminations in the Royal Rumble 2025. We're going too far forward. Let's go for it. Secondly, using a fan as an offense weapon on Raw, freaking amazing. The whole segment with him and Braun Strowman, my God, I loved it. It was so
5 stars. Yeah, it was phenomenal, man. It was like I said before, the Charlotte Ronda Becky segment where they're just causing chaos and they get arrested and they're in police cars, handcuffed, kicking the living shit out of each other. A couple of years ago before Mania, one of my favorite backstage segments of all time. This was just phenomenal, man. This is up there. Like, do you know what I mean? When you get them scenes where the locker room just piles out and it's just pure chaos. Like, you just find me pissing myself with laughter the whole way through. I was doing the same thing with this. It's so funny, man. It's so good to watch. Even like the crossbody through the barricade, I was like, Jesus, man. But yeah, to use an actual human as an actual physical weapon, dude, is great. I love it.
Don't try this at home. That's all we'll say about that. It was brilliant. The Rock only won the 2000 Royal Rumble. That is true. And honestly, he can see Rock beating Cody Rhodes to win the Undisputed Championship at Royal Rumble, and then Roman Reigns beating The Rock at WrestleMania 41. I agree with everything you said there. Just, I think it's the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania 41, and then Roman at WrestleMania 42.
Yeah, because I was going to say, what do you have Cody do at Mania if Cody loses that title?
Randy?
Maybe. But without a title, it doesn't make kind of much sense, really.
No.
Who knows? Cena?
Ooh. Interesting.
American Nightmare versus the old, the old American hero, John Cena?
Absolutely. It would be fun. I still think that it'll be Cody Rock at WrestleMania this year. I think who is the real people's champion It should have been The Rock, and then Cody
Yeah.
come and stole the momentum, and then obviously the final boss then had his say and started whooping Cody all over the place, and he has the People's Championship. So, yeah, I think it could be a case of both titles being on the line, and I can actually see Rock.
So what does Roman do then? Roman solo?
So actually, funny you mentioned that, because Roman Solo was what I thought it was going to be until this match was made. So let's bring up everything. So I've got everything in place for it here. But obviously, we know the match that has been made for Bad Blood here. And you can see it on your screen now, of course, is Jacob Fatu and Solo against Roman and Cody. There was Solo losing against Cody this past week on SmackDown. If you look at the 4 people here, the one that's probably least protected again is Solo. I would expect him to take the pinfall this early stage. And there was a stare down in ring on SmackDown between Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu before Jacob was pulled out of the ring by Solo. I'm starting to wonder if the WrestleMania match is actually Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu.
That is a very, very brave prediction. Like, I know that Jacob Fatu is very highly, obviously, sought after backstage, and they loved the guy. And like the way they are booking them two on TV, what does Solo do then at this point? It's just a chain reaction now, because what's Solo doing for WrestleMania? If Jacob Fatu is fighting Roman, what's Solo doing?
Oh,
Sami Zayn?
Sami Zayn could work.
Jey Uso?
They could work as well.
It's confusing.
I think Solo is eventually going to end up back in the OG bloodline. I think that he's going to be he's going to be kicked out. If they've already done the melee and attack in NXT without Solo, which was Jacob Fatu, Tama Tonga, and Tonga Loa, I think obviously if The Rock is steering the ship as well,
I did it for The Rock.
Yeah, did it for The Rock, and I think Hikuleo as well rounds that off. You can put Solo back on the other team, and that's when you get the original 5 members then of the OG bloodline. But yeah, I have to wait and see. I'm fantasy booking far too far. I've probably got about 3 years of storytelling ahead here at this point. It's a good time just to say, hey Ed, thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well. He wants to see Bronson versus Braun Breaker for the IC title at WrestleMania next year.
Possible at this rate. Like it's there's no, like, I know we did our fantasy booking back in like April for next year, and like I know like within about 2 weeks half of my matches were automatically scrapped because it was like, oh well, he's no longer a part of the company, she's no longer part of the company. Yeah, so much for what was it? Who's the guy that got released? I can't forget. Gable Stevenson. Yeah, and Gable Stevenson winning the IC title or the United States title or something next year in WrestleMania. And I was like, well, that ain't happening now.
Well, good news though for people. We are going to do an updated version of this, and obviously because
where we absolutely rip the shit out of our old predictions, hopefully.
We'll do the new predictions, and we can just quickly laugh at our old predictions. I think is what we'll do at the end of that video. But what we're going to do, obviously, Triple H said in the documentary that usually in October time, that's when 80% of the WrestleMania card is already finalized. So we're going to look at the storylines now, and we see if we actually think we've got it together. So we will do an updated version of that, and it'll be dropping probably the week after Bad Blood.
No, definitely not. We definitely won't have any of it. Like, I'd be very surprised at this point we even get one match correct with how the way you're booking the main event scene and how you're booking WrestleMania. Like, I ain't got a clue. Like, I think I'm going to agree with like 2 matches on you. The rest are just going to be a complete guess.
It's all the more fun to watch it. That's what I say. C Nation says Xavier would ruin the Final Testament for me every single time I think about them. I say the Final Testicle. Well,
Woods has a habit of doing that.
Yeah. It says, remember, we're trying to do Seth versus Bronson at Elimination Chamber in Feb earlier this year. We were. And then unfortunately it didn't happen in the end, did it? So, yeah, this is something that's been brewing for a long time. So, yeah, it's good to see they're finally doing this now. And it's a great opportunity to build Bronson up as well. And maybe would have been great for Bronson if they'd done something like that back then for Australia. Would have been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Do we see Stephanie or Delta showing up on NXT's first show on the CW network?
Possibly, just because, you know, it's first TV show. They like to bring out all the surprises while they've got Punk making an appearance. You might get Stephanie probably showing up, but I highly doubt it because you've not given Julia enough time to breathe yet. I imagine they will slowly integrate them. Maybe one of them will debut at the Rumble or something.
Do you feel that they would have possibly, because this is how I feel. I felt that St. Louis obviously has not had a lot of the promotion put into that show as of yet. A lot of the focus has been Chicago. It should be Chicago first. It's the first show of the two. But obviously, would you have seen these big shocks happen for the St. Louis show? But now with it being moving venues, that it's going to be less likely we'll see the big surprises for that show now.
I think that they tried to do something that they originally did with NXT back in the day when they used to have main event stars like John Cena come to Full Sail and make appearances on NXT to just drive in crowds to get the numbers up. And I think you're right. They probably thought it was, let's just do that because we did that before and it was easy and it worked. And it was kind of like they've done everything to promote the first episode with CM Punk, and they've announced obviously the two. They haven't announced any more dates yet, so it's only just those two shows. And like by the looks of it, St. Louis probably wasn't the best bet. They really need to hit wrestling crowds and wrestling demographics. So they need to do like, what's the old New York one that they used to do Raw and ECW from back in the day?
I mean, for Raw, old Raw shows like the Manhattan Center.
What's the the one where they did that December to Dismember and stuff or whatever it was? It was the
Hammerstein Ballroom.
That's do the stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? They need to hit those places. Is that where ECW used to be broadcast from?
Yeah, it used to be Hammerstein Ballroom. Yeah. It's confirmed it here as well for us.
Yeah. So they need to do places like that will draw in wrestling crowds for NXT. You can't really go to St. Louis, where obviously apparently there are no wrestling fans that watch NXT. You need to go to these places. Dude, they should even bring one to the UK. I know it's just going to be a midweek taping, but they can make a whole thing of it. Like, we've had one takeover in London, and that was it. They can make a big deal out of that. And do you know what I mean? Have someone from the main roster come there, have a Finn Balor appear there. Do you know what I mean? They just need to make sure they're nailing these places right. And like I said, they've probably piled too much into the first episode, like CM Punk is going to be on it. Oh, but wait, CM Punk is also making an appearance the week before. So what, is Randy Orton going to make an appearance at that show as well, just to promote the next show the following week? Do you know what I mean? CM Punk's got an announcement for that show. Well, what's Randy got to do? Randy's just showing up. He'll probably end up having a 2-minute squash match with someone.
It's an RKO involved. I'm not against that. I won't lie.
That's true.
Ed has said that Waller and Fury are coming for Nathan and Axiom, which will be on the 8th of October show. I would actually be very much in favor of that. That would be a good way of booking that show. So yeah, if that's going to go down, I haven't seen if there's anything on socials about that one, but it's a good shout and certainly be something I'd be interested in seeing. Suggestion for matches here as well: Cody versus Cena, Orton versus AJ Styles, maybe for Mania next year.
What, as a fatal 4-way? Yeah, why not?
Oh yeah, it looks to be fatal 4-way, doesn't it? Yeah,
fatal 4-way.
Oh, interesting. I like that.
Who wins though? That's the biggest question, because really it should be Cody.
Cody probably, but then yeah, I don't know. There's some love for Cena as well, isn't there? Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes doesn't have to be for a title, enough history to make it interesting. I would agree with that, but I just think where I agree with NXT on that is the fact of why Orton would turn heel, because the motive and the advantage right now would be to get the world title, where to just turn on Cody if there's no title. That I don't see, but I would agree though. Storyline, they've got enough history to make it interesting, but hopefully that gets involved anyway, whether there's a title or not.
Agreed.
Will Mariah May ever get to do her championship celebration? Probably not, but what she's promised.
No, apparently not. That's it. I don't even know what the point is. Like, it's a really weird story to be telling. Like, I just want to celebrate being women's champion, but someone keeps screwing me over. Unless it's supposed to be a case of it's building to her next competitor, maybe. I don't know.
We want Mina. That's all I'm going to say. Wrestle Dream, we want Mina. And if you want to know my Wrestle Dream predictions for the match card, that will be dropping on the channel tomorrow, and there'll be more videos dropping through the week as well. But this has been our live Q&A special that we've done for you on this Tuesday. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. It really helps a long way on this channel, more than you can actually realize. Subscribe if you are new here as well, and if you've missed anything, you can rewind to the start of the video and hear our thoughts about Saturday night's main event. Big massive thank you to the chat as well, keeping us busy with your questions for nearly the last 90 minutes, and a big thank you to the man next to me as well, NX Steve, for always your great insights, talks on professional wrestling.
Dude, always a pleasure. Always waffle on for too long, but always look forward to it.
It's always great to have you on board. It's always great to have you on board watching as well. And make sure to check out other videos that are on the channel for yourselves right now. And if you haven't seen last week's Q&A, go and check that out as well. We've got some great discussions about what we think will happen inside of War Games. Take care. Thanks for watching. We'll see you for the next video.